Kick back as we take you on a short trip of England's wonderful history and culture. If you've missed out on seeing the Queen on her Golden Jubilee, we can tell you how to get up close and personal with the monarch. Come and check out the many booming tourist attractions and festivals. Relive histories at galleries and restored palaces. And get your hands dirty at the Potteries Museum in Staffordshire. This and more on Latitudes. 2002 saw the Queen's Golden Jubilee celebrations take to the streets of England. From all across the country and even the world, monarchists and tourists flocked to the palace to see their beloved Queen and celebrate her 50 years on the throne. For a short but wonderful moment that year, the whole of England witnessed Her Majesty's glory. Until today, that energy reverberates throughout London's tourist destinations. For those who couldn't make it, not to worry. The Queen has made a special appearance for her supporters who missed out. Put on your elegant frocks, clean slacks, shiny shoes and jewellery, and place yourself in Her Majesty's presence. Where, might you say, can you catch the Queen? At the Madame Tussauds, of course. To help commemorate the Queen's Golden Jubilee, London's famous Wax Museum has unveiled a new model of Her Majesty. The new figure of the Queen is the 22nd to be made by the Wax Museum. She was first portrayed in 1928, aged 2. Also on display are the other members of the royal family. Come along with the kids and relatives and take some memorable photos with the other famous royals like Prince Philip and Prince Charles. In fact, why not the whole royal family?
There's someone taking a photo. I just stood back next to
To further celebrate the Jubilee year, an exhibition of 5 royal bridal gowns are on display at Kensington Palace. It's the first time in almost 30 years that the Queen's elaborately embroidered gown has been on display. A great deal of work has gone into preserving the dress. Pictured here is the Queen on her wedding day wearing the original gown. Every single detail of the dress was recorded, millimetre by millimetre, and an underdress was also made up just as accurately. This means that the lovely dress, which hasn't been seen for such a long time, is now going to happily survive to delight future generations. The Queen Mother's wedding dress was highly fashionable at the time and shows its unique 1920s style. Other dresses on display are those worn by Queen Victoria, Queen Mary and Queen Alexandra. Madame Tussauds also houses many wax models of our beloved idols and admired people. Come and see Whoopi Goldberg and Patrick Stewart, just to name a few. If it's famous sports personalities you want to see, models of David Beckham and Pelé are on display. The Madame Tussauds group employs over 5,000 people. Here at their workshop, artists race around the clock, working on the wax models which will soon be put out on display. Focusing more on the domestic market and on improving customer experience, Kylie's Fever is one of the more recent popular exhibits that people visit. Madame Tussauds Waxworks continues to be ranked as the #1 visitor attraction in Europe. Madame Tussauds is also the hub of a huge leisure group. Their attractions range from the giant London Eye Ferris wheel to theme parks all over Britain. If you're ever in England, you surely won't be disappointed at the range of entertaining rides they have. Roller coasters, plunging bombs, as well as a huge plethora of body-throwing air acrobatic rides. One of the most popular rides in the UK is the London Eye. More than 4 million people a year take a ride on this giant Ferris wheel. Here you can see the whole of London landscape at the peak of the ride, as well as a good view of the Thames Cathedral. If theme parks are your interest, then come and check out Legoland at Windsor. Be amazed at the miniature worlds on display and the amount of detail in the well-thought-out layout of the park. Watch as the little vehicles scurry away to their destinations. Thanks to the Queen's Golden Jubilee, there's been a positive impact on the country's tourism. And now is the best time to come to the UK. If you're looking for a more relaxing and pleasant function, come to the yearly Chelsea Flower Show, the finest display of horticultural talent in the world. On display is the wonderful Transparency Garden. Also on display is the Marie Curie Garden of Discovery and Through the Glass Ceiling Garden, which symbolises a relaxed, harmonious existence. This garden was co-designed by the Prince of Wales and was dedicated to the late Queen Mother. It embraces ecological building techniques and contains plants with either medicinal or culinary uses, and has been aptly named the Healing Garden. At the Chelsea Flower Show, there are many different exhibitions from all over the world, in fact. You won't be disappointed at the lush scenery, beautiful spectrum of colours and pleasant smells. Grenada and other Caribbean countries are represented here, as are Japan, South Africa, India and Australia, making Chelsea a truly international event. Speaking of the Caribbean, every summer people gather for the Notting Hill Carnival, which celebrates Caribbean culture. With singing, dancing, steel bands and elaborate costumes, this annual carnival is the largest street party in Europe. From its beginnings 40 years ago, London's Notting Hill Carnival has grown into a two-day summer festival spectacle. And what a spectacle it is! Gold is the dominant colour that marks the carnival's thanks to the Queen's Golden Jubilee. Celebrate with the hundreds of thousands of elaborately dressed dancers that make their way through the bustling streets to the varied sounds of tropical steel bands and competing sound systems. Have a feed in true West Indies style and immerse yourself in the nation's Caribbean roots and cuisine. Then jump back into the many masquerade bands that crowd the streets. Carnival was brought to London by the West Indian immigrants 40 years ago. The festival's traditions and Caribbean roots have returned in full effect after recent years of absence. If you can't make it out to the West Indies for the real thing, you surely won't be missing out on much if you attend here at Notting Hill. Put your costume and dancing shoes on and have a wonderful day at the Notting Hill Carnival Caribbean Festival. History is very important for people to understand. If you want to relive some of it, then visit the British galleries at the Victoria and Albert Museum, London. This current series of gallery charts the changes in British art, design and lifestyle from the 16th to the 20th centuries. The Victoria and Albert Museum is a treasure house of art and design from the Middle Ages to the present day. See in whole the many precious and valuable objects that belong to some of history's most important people. The Three Graces statue seen here is an artefact of amazing beauty. The museum calls this exhibition the greatest collection of national treasures ever assembled, and surely lives up to that calling. Walk around the museum's many different galleries, all of which run in chronological order. In perfect preservation, the displays include complete period rooms like this mid-18th century music salon from the London home of the Duke of Norfolk. The woolen wall coverings, plasterwork and even the flooring typical of the period are faithfully reproduced in this 18th century room from a London house demolished in the 1950s. Watch this short animation which outlines the changes in lifestyle, like tea drinking habits. One of the main themes in the museum is the gradual growth of British national consciousness. Walking through the many galleries is like walking through a time warp. One can slowly comprehend the changes over 4 centuries. And if your hands feel a bit itchy, there are a few activities to get your minds and digits working. Be amazed at the accurate detail in the replicas and restorations of the numerous items in the gallery's collection. As soon as you leave the museum, you'll be overwhelmed at the amount of wonderful sights you've seen. It's almost like time travel. Elsewhere at the Museum of London, the World City Gallery, rare film and photographs and over 3,000 objects, many previously unseen, are being used to illustrate London life during the 19th century. Here, a computer recreates the vast interior of the Great Exhibition of 1851, which was the era of Victorian imperial self-confidence. The World City Galleries show both the wealth and glamour and the grinding poverty in London. The world's first underground railway opened in London in 1863. Some of the earliest photographs ever made show the laying of underground tracks. Fully restored vehicles such as this early fire engine are amongst many of the items on display, as well as an early telegraph machine. While some enjoyed London's increasing wealth, a third of the population laboured in sweatshops, struggling to bring up families in the densely packed slum housing. The consequences are seen in this skeleton of a child. Its bent legs, a telltale sign of rickets, a disease of malnutrition. Walk through the interior of the barber's shop. See all the old various telephones. Walk along the front of the pawnbroker's shop and look at the many photos of London back in the day. The World City Galleries, another great adventure through the sands of time. If you still haven't had enough of reliving the past, come and visit Somerset House, right beside the banks of the River Thames in London. The fountains perform a ballet every half hour, and in winter the courtyard is transformed into a public skating rink. The Somerset House itself is a national treasure, and nearly 1.5 million people visit it each year. Rare fragments of the Tudor and Stuart Royal Palace, which was demolished in 1776, have gone on display in the Somerset House, which now stands on the same spot. This is a picture of Edward Seymour, Lord Protector of the young King Edward VI. Renovated in 1997 at a cost of £48 million, the fragments were found here and are now housed in the 3 newly built museums. Amongst the many items that were found and then housed here are a gilded stucco mask of a river god and numerous others. A computerised display shows the original palace built in 1547 through to the present day, which also housed 3 queens of England. The Old Palace exhibition joins the 3 public museums there: the Courtauld Gallery, housing Impressionist and Renaissance paintings, the Gilbert collection of gold and silver art, and the Hermitage rooms displaying highlights from the Hermitage Museum. But this is only one of the many restored royal homes that you can visit. This is one of Britain's most historic homes, the Osborne House, located on the Isle of Wight. It was the family home of Queen Victoria and has just recently opened up more of its rooms to the public. Enjoy the lovely scenery at this domestic retreat and fine examples of Victorian taste and architecture. This is Edward VII and his family, who eventually bequeathed the house to the rest of the nation. The exterior and interior of the whole building has been totally restored. The grandeur of this majestic home will have you spellbound. Much effort has been spent restoring the interior to its original state. This is the Durbar Room, which was built in the 1890s. It was the last part of the Osborne House constructed and was the grand entertaining room. The Durbar Room was seen as the ideal location to display the royal treasures because of its Indian decoration. This beautiful model palace from Jaipur was among the gifts which were given as a display of loyalty. Here are her many subjects and an ivory tower sent to her as a gift. The gift boxes are also stunning. adorned with fine detail appropriate to the status of Queen Victoria as Empress of India. It was here in the dining room that Queen Victoria lay in state for some days before her funeral. Outside and on top of the house, you can see Cowes, the capital of the Isle of Wight and its surrounding countryside. Osborne House, one of the jewels of the British Empire, now restored to its former glory. Stoke-on-Trent was the centre of the pottery industry boom at the end of the 18th century. Its rich pottery and ceramic history continues to bring tourists to the heart of the city. This is one of the many bottle oven chimneys that litter the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire landscape. Since the Middle Ages, clay and coal, typical outcrop found near the surface all over this part of the world, was used by farmers to produce pottery. The city of Stoke-on-Trent Council is keen to keep the history of the region alive. The Potteries Museum and Gladstone Working Potteries Museum offer an insight into the rich history of this area. The sister museums give visitors a chance to view a wide selection of some of the world's finest china and ceramic ware. Many of the early pot-producing centres, which were quite important towards the end of the 17th century, were actually in someone's backyard. But by the late 1800s and early 1900s, Stoke-on-Trent became the centre of the ceramic industry boom. But pottery wasn't always used for domestic purposes. The museum has an extensive collection of prehistoric pottery, outlining the time when pottery first emerged in the United Kingdom. In the Neolithic period, pottery was used for ritualistic purposes only. These are models of old-fashioned pottery ovens that would have been found in people's backyards. But as the demand for pottery grew and people made the most of the region's natural resources, production methods rapidly advanced. The shape of the firing oven gradually changed until eventually the round-shape oven with a large chimney became the most popular. These are known as the bottle oven. There are excursions through these bottle ovens every day, and you can peer into them and even see the original sagar pots inside. At the Potteries Museum, visitors get the chance to decorate their own pots and ceramics. With the growing use and popularity of pottery as an everyday household object, the desire for attractive and decorated pieces emerged. Sit down in peaceful silence and zone into the arts and craft. Whatever you choose, you can decorate the ceramic in many different ways, and even before you fire it, you can paint it using mineral oxides. There are many activities to do here at the Pottery Museum. Even the kids can enjoy themselves painting models of cute animals and various characters. Stoke-on-Trent, at the heart of the UK's pottery industry, was at the forefront of innovation and design, and rapidly made a reputation as a producer of fine china. Pottery houses such as Wedgwood, Spode and Royal Doulton flourished, and are still rated amongst the best in the world today. Figurines became popular when people began to collect pottery for their personal pleasure. This is a famous Toby jug, a collector's item. Celebrating the Queen's Golden Jubilee, royal collectibles are on display. These collectible items are still very much in high demand. Drinking tea, coffee and chocolate became fashionable in the 18th century. This is a unique collection of drinking cups at the museum. Another popular piece of work here at the museum is the cream jug in the shape of a cow. This whole collection came from one woman who bequeathed it to the museum. What a strange but interesting way to pour cream into your coffee. The Potteries Museum has a large collection of studio pottery on display. The growth of the arts and craft movement has seen pottery become popular as a hobby. Making pottery became a lifestyle more than a job, and studio potters would build their own wheels and kilns. fire their pots with wood that they'd gathered themselves, and sell their wares. If that tickles your fancy, then the Gladstone Working Potteries Museum offers visitors a chance to have a go at pottery making themselves. Both the museums encourage interaction from the public, and the Potteries Museum runs a special display each summer with activities aimed at attracting the interest of children. They'll surely have lots of fun getting their hands dirty here. But classes are not only directed at children, adults and elderly alike can also enjoy classes at the Pottery Museum. This peaceful and calming activity has attracted people for many years. Pottery flower art is also offered at the museum. You can learn to create all sorts of different flowery ceramic. Watch and learn as you make petals, roses, and the many different flower parts and species that are imitated here. First, the bud is created, followed by the petals, which are then attached around it. The final product are these gorgeous pottery flowers, themselves just as beautiful as the real thing. Funnily enough, one of the main attractions here is an owl. The surrounding display was inspired by this piece of pottery named Aussie. Aussie is a prime example of slipware, one of Staffordshire's most distinctive types of pottery, and large quantities were made for about 100 years from the middle of the 1600s. This owl was rediscovered when it appeared on a television antique show. Potters used local buff and red clays to make slipware, and then decorated it with liquid clay, or slip, before coating it with lead glaze. And Aussie does appear to be doing his job of attracting visitors. These children are taking part in an educational workshop, which tells them about the history of pottery and their town, while giving them the opportunity to draw pictures of Aussie and create his likeness in puppets. For an interesting and educational insight into Staffordshire and the development of pottery, then come and visit the Potteries Museum and the Gladstone Working Potteries Museum for a very insightful and enjoyable time. Join Latitudes again when we next trek the globe and explore fabulous and exciting holiday destinations. For further information regarding any story on this episode, log on to www.pbtv.com.au. This program is proudly supported by PATA and Always Dive Australia.